Good evening, you are watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. The Minister of Labor affirms that procedures for appointing 5,200 civil and military government jobs are completed during the first months of this year. The dry dock in Duqm wins the 2021 award for the best ship repairing dock in the Middle East and Indian subcontinent level. Iranians go to polling stations to elect a new president. And UK and Russia study imposing precautionary measures due to the spread of the new coronavirus variant. Those were the headlines. Now for the news in detail. His Excellency Dr. Mhad bin Saeed Ba'waim, Minister of Labor, stressed during TV program from Oman that the job seekers file is among the most important priorities of the government's work, adding that the National Employment Program will focus on providing various labor sectors and finding sustainable solutions to reduce the percentage of job seekers. He pointed out that the procedures for appointing 5,200 civil and military government jobs were completed during the first months of this year, in addition to appointing 4,800 people in the private sector since the beginning of the year until the end of last May. His Excellency also stressed that there are approximately 15,000 job opportunities with the private sector on hourly contracts in which the government participates in part of the salary with about 200 Omani riyals. The dry dock in the Special Economic Zone in Duqm won the award for the best ship repairing dock on the level of the Middle East and Indian subcontinent. That came during the 14th edition of the ShipTech International Maritime Awards 2021 ceremony. This affirms on the global competitiveness of the services rendered by Oman Dry Dock Company, which is affiliated to Asyad Group. It's worth mentioning that the dry dock started its operations in 2011. Oil prices took a hit from strong dollar as concerns over demand and new Iranian supply also weighed. Global benchmark Brent crude was down 2.7% at $72.53 a barrel after settling at its highest price since April 2019 on Wednesday. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude, which touched its highest level since October 2018 on Wednesday, shot 0.66% to $70.57. Oman crude oil next August delivery declined by $1.43 compared to yesterday's price as to reach today's $70.96 per barrel. The Omani oil price average July delivery amounted to $63.10. The private healthcare institutions contribute to the government COVID-19 vaccination acceleration plan, where the number of these healthcare institutions have started vaccinating the public. More details in the following report by Abdullah bin Ahmed Al-Rubai.
Private healthcare institutions contribute to the government's COVID-19 vaccination acceleration plan, where a number of these healthcare institutions have started vaccinating public. Many are employees of different companies around the Sultanate. Here at Al Ghubra, the location of this state-of-art international hospital, commenced its role where a huge number of people have been receiving their vaccines.
Let's fight COVID-19. It's important. We need to go back to normal life.
Come to take a vaccine.
The COVID-19 increasing. I'm very happy to take my vaccine. You need to take your vaccine to protect yourself.
Protecting public through speeding up the vaccination campaign against COVID-19 is well taken by the private healthcare institutions.
We are Toman International Hospital, and we are glad to join the efforts of the government in order to provide vaccination to the population. We can announce that we are speeding up also our processes, and we are doing 1.5 thousand vaccinations per day in order to correspond to the efforts of the government of Oman.
As many as 535,578 people have been vaccinated against COVID-19 since the start of the National Immunization Plan in December 2020 till day before yesterday, which makes 15% of the target segment. The percentage of those who took the first dose of COVID-19 vaccine stood at 66% and 34% who took both doses. Through this strategy, a large number of people will be vaccinated across the Sultanate and thus meeting the government goal of COVID-19 campaign. Abdullah bin Ahmed al-Rubai, Sultanate of Oman Television, Muscat.
The national vaccination campaign against coronavirus COVID-19 continued in the governorate of Bareilly amid wide participation from targeted categories. The campaign is speeding up the process to reduce the health and economic impacts of the pandemic on all segments of the society. After completing the vaccination of grade 12 students and educational staff, the campaign started other age categories, patients with chronic diseases, and personnel working in the government, establishments, and military sector. Iranians voted today in a presidential election in which ultra-conservative clerk Ibrahim Raisi is seen as all but certain to cause victory after all serious rivals were barred from running. After a lackluster campaign turnout was expected to fall to a new low in the country, exhausted by a punishing regime of the U.S. economic sanctions that has dashed the hopes of many for a brighter future. The supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, cast the first vote in Tehran and then urged Iran's nearly 60 million eligible voters to follow suit before the scheduled close of polls at midnight local time. Results are expected around noon tomorrow. If no clear winner emerges, a runoff will be held Friday next week. The election winner will take over in August from incumbent Hassan Rouhani, a moderate who has served the maximum 2 consecutive 4-year terms allowed under the Constitution. The novel coronavirus has killed more than 3.84 million people since the outbreak emerged in China in December 2019. At least 177.4 million cases of the coronavirus have been registered. Yesterday, 9,750 new deaths and 386,604 new cases were recorded worldwide. The United States is the worst affected country with 600,934 deaths. After the U.S., the hardest hit countries are Brazil with 496,004 deaths, India 383,490, Mexico 230,792, and Peru with 189,757 deaths. Latin America and the Caribbean overall has more than 1.2 million deaths, Europe 1.15 million deaths, Asia 549,890, the Middle East 147,154, and Africa 136,256 deaths. The Public Health England data showed that today Britain has reported another steep rise in the weekly reported cases of the Delta coronavirus variant after Prime Minister Boris Johnson decided to delay the final lifting of the lockdown restrictions. The PHE said that there has been 33,630 new cases of the Delta variant first identified in India in the week of June 16, taking the number of confirmed cases to 75,953, a 79% increase on the previous total. In response to the surge of the cases of Delta, Johnson is aiming to accelerate vaccination plans to give every adult a first COVID-19 vaccine by July 19th, the new data at which he plans to end COVID restrictions in England. Today, COVID-19 vaccinations were opened up to all people over 18 in England. The Kremlin today blamed a surge in COVID-19 cases on reluctance to get vaccinated due to nihilism after a record of 9,000 new infections in the capital city fanned fears of a third wave. Russia reported 17,262 new coronavirus infections nationwide. Moscow Mayor Sergei Sobyanin extended restrictions he had imposed earlier, which include a ban on public events with more than 1,000 people and 11 p.m. closing time for cafes and restaurants, and the closure of fan zones set up for the European Soccer Championship. Moscow, home to 30 million people, was facing a new, more aggressive and infectious coronavirus variant, and the situation in the city was deteriorating rapidly. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's news bulletin, here are the main points once again. The Minister of Labor affirms that procedures for appointing 5,200 civil and military government jobs are completed during the first months of the year. The dry dock in Duqm wins the 2021 award for the best ship repairing dock in the Middle East and Indian subcontinent level. Iranians go to polling stations to elect a new president. And UK and Russia study imposing precautionary measures due to the spread of the new coronavirus variant. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, is good night and stay safe.